Ugh. Thank you for the $10. I deserve money today. Today's the day I'm going to say, give me your money. I damn near could be a freaking gynecologist with the stuff I know now. Ugh. You know what today is? It's STD Friday, where we do an informative show on the STDs that are in the market right now. But if you guys want, that intro video was a fundraiser for our documentary, What's in It for Men. We are raising money for it. So if you guys want, please donate. The link to the GoFundMe is in the description. And I also want to thank the people that donated yesterday. Every show, it seems like we get more and more donations, which is awesome. Thanks to Adam, Anonymous, Phil, and John for the 4 donations, including a $100 donation. We're at $35,209. So thank you guys so much. All right, so today we are talking about HPV. So welcome to another episode of Pearl Daily. Feminism has destroyed the traditional dating scene. In the past, women were respectable, at least on paper, at least there was no evidence, and would demand that men courted and married them before sex. Now the dating market is a free-for-all, with most of the men being left out and the top men getting sex from women for free. This has led to an increase in the transmission of STDs. Previously, we've covered HIV, herpes, chlamydia, and gonorrhea, and today we are covering HPV. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is the most common STD. Most sexually active people, around 80%, will get HPV at some time in their lives. 42 million people are infected with HPV in the United States at any given time, with 13 million new infections being recorded each year. HPV is so common that many people have it and don't have symptoms. Over 100 types of HPV exist, and some go away after 1 to 2 years, while some have more serious symptoms, including warts and risks of cancer. It is easy for men to spread HPV to women. It is easier for men to spread HPV to women than women to spread HPV to men. HPV is the most commonly transmitted through skin-to-skin contact during sexual activity. The first HPV vaccine was approved by the FDA in 2006 and is 90% effective in combating the major symptoms of the disease. While HPV can be acquired at any age, it is most commonly contracted during the teenage years or the early 20s, with the average being 21 years. 75% of sexually active people have caught HPV by 31, and 85% have caught HPV by age 40. The worst kinds of HPV to contract are 16 and 18, which HPV 16 is linked to cancer and is the most dangerous strain. It is responsible for 50% of cervical cancers and also causes throat, anal, and penile cancer. HPV 18 is the second most common strain that causes cervical cancer at 20% and is also associated with the most aggressive types of cancer.
It's STI Awareness Week, and every day this week I'm going to be discussing a different STI. Today's topic is HPV, human papillomavirus, which in my opinion is the most misunderstood STI. HPV is by far the most common sexually transmitted infection, and almost everybody who has ever been sexually active in their life will be exposed to it at one point or another. Now, there are hundreds of different strands of HPV and about 40 different types that affect the genitals and throat and that we consider to be sexually transmitted in nature. Now, even plantar warts on the bottom of your feet that you can get during a hot yoga class can be HPV. So not every form of HPV is sexually transmitted. This video is going to discuss the 40 or so types that are. Those strands of HPV that can affect the genitals and the throat are stratified into high-risk strands and low-risk strands. Low-risk strands are more likely to cause things like genital warts or anal warts, which are not pleasant, but they're not necessarily harmful to your health. The high-risk strands of HPV are the ones that can lead to cancer, various types of cancers, cervical cancers, penile cancers, anal cancer, vulvar cancer, and various head and neck cancers, including esophageal cancer, tonsil, and tongue cancer. Now, here's the thing. Your immune system can clear HPV on its own. And in fact, the vast majority of HPV infections are cleared by the body on its own. Only sometimes will those HPV infections go on to cause cancer, and it's more likely in people who are immune compromised, such as those with uncontrolled HIV. So how is HPV transmitted? It's transmitted via skin-to-skin contact, so you don't even necessarily have to be partaking in penetrative sexual activity to contract it. It can be transmitted through all forms of sexual activity and also through fingers, hands, heavy petting, touching, that kind of thing. So what do we do with this information? You want to make sure that you're always on top of your HPV-related cancer screening. So for folks with a cervix, that is a cervical pap smear to screen for cervical cancer. And for anyone of any gender who is sexually active in the butt, you also want to be getting anal pap smears, which are less common, less known about, but super important. So talk to your provider about that if it applies to you. I also strongly recommend getting the HPV vaccine. It's called Gardasil, and it protects against the 9 strains of HPV that are the most likely to cause cancer. So you can still get HPV even if you've gotten the Gardasil vaccine, but you're less likely to get a strain that will go on to cause cancer. So even if you have previously been diagnosed with HPV, even if it's a high-risk strain in the past, still get that vaccine, as there's some evidence that it can actually also help clear existing HPV. HPV is tricky. It's often misunderstood. So if you have any questions about it, drop them in my comments.
All right. So HPV. It seems like, based on what I've read, if you're sexually active, most people have it. Now, most people don't, from what I understand, get cancer from it. That does not seem to be the majority. And I go in to get like a yearly pap, like every woman does. And I was curious, you know, the real guys that have the answers to how many women have STDs are the gynecologists. That's who I want to talk to off camera, not on camera, because they can't be honest when their customer base is the ones paying them. Do you know what I mean? The customer base are the ones that's throwing it back in these streets. Do you know what I mean? So they can't be super honest and be like, yeah, these women are whores and they all have STDs. But that would be the interesting question. I was thinking about this. So I asked, though, the last time I was there, what age women tend to get cancer if they get cancer from HPV. And he said it happens like 5 years later. Most of the time, it's in their 30s. If women get cancer, that's when they get it. So Alex Cooper, who's on Call Her Daddy, apparently she got HPV when she was 23. And I'm like, you must have been throwing it back from the time you were like 15. If you already have cancer and HPV, or like the next stage of it anyways. So yeah, this is her talking about it.
I was sitting in my bedroom and I got a call from my women's health center. And my doctor told me that my results came back in from my recent yearly exam, and lo and behold, I had an STD. I had contracted HPV. And he proceeded to tell me that the strand that she had was one of the kinds that the vaccine does not protect you from. Like an idiot, I ignored the diagnosis, and I felt so paralyzed by the information that he gave me about his ex that I basically just accepted that I was going to have this for the rest of my life, and I was screwed and I fucked myself. And like every single pap smear for the next 4 years came back HPV positive.
So, and what I understand about pap smears is because there's so many strands, they don't test women for the actual, in general, they don't test women for the actual strands, because usually it clears on its own. But so if she was testing positive, that means she had, it had taken the next step, I think anyways, it had taken the next step from being just like a positive test. It like the cells must have been different, I think.
So I went in for this procedure. I still hadn't told my mom or any of my friends. And most importantly, I hadn't told Matt.
Yeah, so she was throwing it back with HPV and not telling anybody. This is why I keep telling you guys, I'm telling you, the people with this stuff, they lie. They lie. And I've done in-depth interviews with these people, and the way they see it is, look, I want to have a sex life. I want to have a dating life, and I don't get to have that if I'm honest. And the ones that are honest, it killed their dating life completely. So a lot of them just choose to lie. Is it curable? So I think you always, and I'm not a doctor, this is just what I've read. I've seen conflicting things online, but from what I understand, it clears within 2 years for most people when they're young. However, if you get 16 or 18, that's when you're screwed. Yeah. As most of you know, I have been fighting on the front lines of the simp epidemic for years, but I need to tell you about a quiet weapon being ratcheted up against men that is rarely talked about. It's not just the relentless anti-masculinity propaganda and OnlyFans hoes causing the societal issues that we discuss on this show. Did you know that the average city's tap water contains trace pharmaceuticals and endocrine disruptors? This often includes estrogen from birth control. The average adult consumes a credit card worth of plastic every single week. That's 5 grams of plastic a week on average. So it's no wonder that the average male's testosterone is half of what the average was 50 years ago. Testosterone levels decline 1% a year, and without a course correction, we are headed towards extinction. No matter how based you are, you need to be naturally boosting your testosterone. My friends at Chalk, CHOQ.com, are on a mission to save mankind from extinction by boosting your vitality. Chalk's Male Vitality Stack contains premium and potent herbs clinically studied to naturally boost your testosterone levels, sperm count, and overall vitality. Just one of the many ingredients in the Male Vitality Stack was studied in double-blind human clinical trials to boost total testosterone 20% in 90 days. When you boost your testosterone, you'll have more mental clarity, you're more capable of making decisions and taking risks. Having high testosterone will also affect your pheromones, so women will find you more attractive subconsciously. Get the Chalk Male Vitality Stack right now on Chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. Use my name Pearl as your coupon code and you'll get 25% off site-wide on Chalk.com. That's CHOQ.com. My name Pearl is the discount code.
At this point, Matt and I were starting to get serious and we were dating. And for the first time, it just sucked because I could really envision a future with a man. This is like not what I want to do and not what I want to bring up, but I knew I was going to have to be honest about it. So I scheduled my LEAP procedure, and that night I told Matt. We were having dinner at his house, and I remember I was so nervous. I went to the bathroom 10 times, looking myself in the mirror, practicing how, when you're doing that though, when you're I need to I'm randomly bringing this thing up. What's the good what's a good time? When he's cleaning the dishes or when we're on the couch again, I didn't know. And so I was just embarrassed and I told him, Matt, I'm really embarrassed, but I need to be honest with you and I want to tell you something. And I told him everything. And he couldn't have been more loving and understanding and supportive. That's note to self, you guys. Half the time we think that someone's going to judge us. It's they're actually going to be okay, I'm here for you. Love you. And I'm oh, fuck. And he had actually told me that he had gone for his yearly stuff and he didn't have anything. So I immediately felt better. I was oh my God, thank God I didn't spread this to you.
Yeah, they ended up getting married. This is what I mean. Men are going to adapt to the marketplace. Because men aren't in control. Doug MPA and I think have talked about this before. Men are not in control of relationships, in my opinion. They're not. If men were in control of relationships, they'd get the 22-year-old baddies. But men have to adapt to what's on the menu. And the menu is STD-ridden hotties, born-again virgins. and ex OnlyFans models. And, you know, men are going to adapt to what's on the menu. I don't say this because I'm happy about it, right? I don't say this in a way that I'm like, yes, I'm so glad this is happening. Men will adapt to taking older women. And you can see this because more men still want relationships than women, even with the state of women, right? So, all right, here's the next one.
So many women.
Yeah, you guys are saying men control relationship opportunities. I disagree. That's just not what I see. Because most men, if they hook up with a 22-year-old, she doesn't want to stick around. The data shows this, right? So yeah, even after sex, the 22-year-old still has the leverage because she has like 20 dudes that are going to give her a relationship. The man, not so much. And I'm not saying this to be like I'm happy about it, but you know, the more I've interviewed men about their experiences, it just seems like the women, when they are quality, aren't signing up for relationships in general. And they come back when they're not quality. So older women, no thank you. Well, again, like, because if men were in control of marriage and relationships, the women wouldn't be 32 getting married. They'd be 22. But they're not. So, yeah, sorry. I'm sorry. I don't mean this to be like, I'm just being honest. Like, I think it almost leads men down, like it'll make them go crazy because they'll bang a 22-year-old and think, oh, maybe she'll stick around. Not like, you know, but a lot of women don't. Do you think this is the reason biology in men seeks younger women? I mean, it's just less baggage, better fertility, more moldable. So, yeah.
Get HPV. So many women get HPV, 80%, or 4 out of 5 women, if you need it spelled out, because I'm bad at math, so I did. I've had it twice, and because we get it so much, I honestly think that the way they should tell us is in a fun way, because getting HPV just means you're cool as fuck, because you're fucking. Instead of being like, hey, you have HPV, I think that they should call you and use like the NBC little sound, but for HPV, like HPV. Oh my God, I'm so turned down. Oh wait, I was supposed to say HPV.
That's gross. Yeah, and that's, you know, like if men were in control of marriage and relationships, then men would be the one leaving, right? But women are the ones leaving. Unfortunately, you know, it is what it is. All right.
For me, and I think
men are in control of marriage. Well, again, if that were true, you guys would be getting the 22-year-old baddies, but you're not. Marriage starts when the women decide they're ready to get married and start entertaining the marriage offers. Sadly.
for me, and I think
Oh, wait, hold on.
a big part of that was shame.
I just want to talk a little bit about Alex Cooper and just her most recent podcast she did on Call Her Daddy about sort of this catfish experience that she had in Paris with a guy she met on Raya. I just want you to all know, as a gynecologist, I myself have had HPV. I'm going to just say that. Is that crazy to say that on this app? About 80% of women who are sexually active, men, women, both, whatever floats your boat, will contract HPV at some point in their sexual life. And there were even studies on nuns who supposedly never had sexual activity who are also testing positive. So I want to take the shame out of this. When you come to the gynecologist and see me, like, I feel empathy towards you, and I feel frustrated that a virus can cause cervix cancer. I don't feel any judgment, and no one should judge you for that. And just like no one would judge you for getting the chicken pox, it's a virus. There's literally nothing you can do. Live your life. Go to the doctor and get your smears and get your HPV testing, but do not feel shame. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Let's use next. Now we're having doctors saying don't feel shame. Okay.
Good morning. Let's talk HPV, everyone's favorite topic. Oh, I got HPV last October after an abnormal pap.
Okay, so HPV DNA high risk detected, pap smear positive. So HPV testing was done as a sample for cervical cells. These results were negative for the highest risk HPV. However, they did show the presence of high risk HPV cells. So I think that means it's like stage 2 of it. So like the cells are different. I want to Google what is the average age? What is the average age women get HPV? All right. Early 20s, many women are exposed to HPV. The median age of acquisition is 20.6 years old. Early 30s, around 75% of women will have acquired a casual HPV infection.